Good morning, everyone. Hi, I'm Lorna Hollinger. I am the author of Thank God He's Gone, The Smart Woman's Guide to Get Back Your Personal Power, Reclaim Your Confidence, ladies. It just has a super sassy title and the most gorgeous goddess on the front. If you love the goddess on the front, by the way, this is by an artist, an Australian artist, a fabulous friend of mine called Tanya Leviz. Loviz arts.com.au. She has the most amazing, sexy artwork like this, but she also does some other amazing stuff, some beautiful landscapes and animals, and fabulous artist. So if you love this, go and look up Tanya Leviz from Leviz Arts and go and see if you would love a piece of her artwork hanging in your house, just like this one hangs in my house. So this is my first book, Amazon bestseller. There is a second book coming, which is about dating in the modern world. It's all good and well that we've ended this relationship and we're going to sort our stuff out, ladies. Now it's the time to go, I might like a new partner. How do I do that with grace and ease and love in my heart, having healed, know my boundaries, see those red flags and act on them without getting dragged into something that's just toxic? How do we do that? It's coming in the next book. But this book today, The Smart Woman Says We Crave Familiar Feelings. Familiar feelings. Recently, I had a conflict with a man that I was dating. He had so many wonderful traits that really ticked a lot of my boxes. He had been very attentive. We chatted about any and all topics. We made each other laugh a lot. I could be vulnerable with him and I still felt safe. We had awesome chemistry and I really liked spending time with him. He would cook for me when the opportunity arose, write stories for me when the mood took him. There was also a lot of red flags that I choose to ignore. How often do we do this, ladies? He avoided uncomfortable conversations until he was okay to have them. Then he would engage with me. He had a lot of unresolved childhood trauma from a bullying father, which left to very low self-esteem at times. He was a self-professed people pleaser, and as well as a people pleaser, he was a self-confessed people pleaser, and as with all people pleasers, they will please the people who they feel most uncomfortable or unsafe with, leaving the ones they care about to be pleased last. When he was upset or overwhelmed, he would withdraw from me, all into his own head, and often for days at a time. He would just disappear. But I chose to ignore this because of all the good stuff was. And well, it was really good. The relationship started during a COVID lockdown, so our physical time together was very limited, but we both wanted to make the most of our time together. I justified his behaviour through the exceptional circumstances of a city during lockdown, and that once circumstances changed, we would get to explore each other and get to know each other and spend something that looked like normal time together. On the days when he was visiting, we were almost like puppies wagging our tails because we were just really excited to see one another. But so much about this man felt so familiar. My dad was absent a lot of the time when I was growing up. There were many occasions when I would ask to spend time with him the next day, and when I got up out of bed, he would already have been gone. I felt sad and confused why he would leave without me. When he came home, he paid me some attention, so I was happy again, so my feelings of sadness would disappear. When this man stopped communicating with me, I would again become fretful, upset and confused. Once he re-engaged, I was so happy to see him that the abandonment and the rejection I'd been feeling melted away. I hadn't connected the dots between my childhood when my dad didn't want to spend time with me and when this man chose to not spend time with me or for him to withdraw from me. I didn't connect the dots between the man who didn't want to spend his time with me and my dad's action. See, all this unresolved stuff from childhood. One Sunday, my new man planned to come to my place to cook as lunch, and we were going to spend the afternoon together. Last minute, he had a family demand and he cancelled. His reason for doing so was very valid and completely understandable, yet his decision not to call me late that afternoon as he promised forced me to step back. Old me would have lashed out. I would have sent him back a text in anger. I would have demanded he called and attacked him when he didn't. I loved this new me. Of course I was hurt. I could have made it all about me. However, instead of making up a story about my own unworthiness, i.e., if he cared he would have called, I looked at him I looked at his capacity and his maturity to show up as a man and recognize his actions were not a reflection of me. How often do we do that, girls? How often do we do that? He does this and we think it's about us. We think it's something we've done or we're inadequate or something about us. And it's not. It's them. It's their stuff. It's their crap. We happen to be the consequences of it because, we feel hurt and upset and maybe angry, but it's not us. That day I started tapping on how I was feeling, and I did so throughout the day. And I used simple words like this sadness and this anger to start with. Once I felt a little better, I changed the conversation with myself to questions I asked. What was this feeling really about? It was through this process of tapping on my emotions that this childlike voice in me popped up. There was a little girl in me craving for the attention of her father, hoping, wishing, and waiting for him to spend time with her. She was the one who has experienced these negative emotions around this man's actions to cancel lunch and him not calling as promised. Once I heard her little voice and felt what she was feeling, I was able to understand myself so much better in that moment. I was still doing tapping pretty much all of the time on how I was feeling, but I changed the question. What would adult me feel about this? This simple question changed my perspective entirely. As an adult woman, I am very comfortable standing in my own power. I am very comfortable setting boundaries. I am very comfortable speaking up and asking for what I want and what I need. And also very comfortable taking the necessary actions when those needs aren't met. Except, it seems, when the trigger was a man who I perceived didn't want to spend time with me. When other men I've dated wanted to spend a lot of time with me, I felt completely overwhelmed and I felt trapped because that was so unfamiliar to me. The familiar feelings to me was when men didn't want to spend time with me and I got to feel upset, fretful and confused. This for me was a massive revelation. While it would be easy for me to write his actions off as #shit behaviour, I can't help but sit in such gratitude to him. Because let's remember, he is also running a pattern of being attracted to the familiar feelings from his childhood and his life experiences. I'm very much the person who gives positive praise and compliments to my family and my friends, and this includes the men I date. I'm not blowing sunshine up their butt where it's not warranted, but I will give praise and I will speak of appreciation and I will say thank you where it is due. For this man, that was incredibly uncomfortable to receive my praise. And it was only while I was doing my tapping on him cancelling lunch, I recognised my pattern of being drawn to familiar feelings that then I could see his discomfort as well. He grew up with a bully father who raised his voice and rejected him, and then he lived in a long-term relationship where the raised voices and the rejection continued. My upbeat, calm demeanour and always looking for the positive was so unfamiliar to him. My pattern of reacting to feelings that were familiar to me had been influencing every decision in every relationship with men for as far back as I can remember. I've made excuses why they treated me in a particular way. I tolerated behaviours that sent me back to childhood abandonment. I stepped out of my personal power with men and into these old, familiar feelings. No wonder I was attracting unsuitable men, but it wasn't their fault. I was not in my integrity. I was not valuing myself. I was seeing this pattern and having the opportunity to clear it was so incredibly invaluable to me. With this man, I got to experience laying down my metaphoric sword instead of taking him out by the legs at the first sign of trouble. The sword slaying and cutting a man down who I considered had wronged me was a lifelong pattern of mine. I'm so proud of myself for not going on the attack. I got to experience the trust of removing my mask and sharing myself openly with this man and feeling safe and protected. This holds such an elated feeling of accomplishment. I got to trust a man and feel safe in my vulnerabilities with him as I shared intimate details of my past, what made me tick, and those innermost secrets we rarely share with anyone. I slowly welcomed a man into my heart and I allowed myself to demonstrate love and compassion, which helped me to lower all of my armour. I think this is the first time for me in over 2 decades. I got to spend time in a relationship with a man without panic or overwhelm that sent me off to locate my usual exit strategy. It was a slow burn of getting to know one another. It was a refreshing change. Tapping will probably always be my go-to tool and choice for clearing those old patterns. And once I recognize this old pattern, I cleared it away and now make better decisions with the men that I choose to interact with. That was a long read today, but I think it was very worthwhile in recognizing how we stick to familiar feelings, and it's the familiar feelings that we chase when we go from relationship to relationship. So if you're attracting the same person and it's the same kind of stuff, go back and look at the trigger. Go back and look at what the familiar stuff is. Clear it from the first time you remember feeling it, and then it doesn't follow you on into this. So thank you for being with me. Thank you again for everyone who is buying the book. If you want a copy of the book, an actual copy, physical hard copy, get in touch with me, DM me. I send them out for $20. I'll pay the postage anywhere else in the world. You pay for the book, it's $20 Australian. You pop it into my bank account and I will sign it for you and I will post it anywhere in the world that you are. Much love. So I will see you soon.